Hey everyone, Justin Bell and Tommy Kendall here with the talk show. Very excited to be a part of Petersen Car Week because our beautiful 31-foot vintage 1971 Airstream, which is our production studio with Jason inside right now, we should be in Pebble Beach right now, Tommy.
We built it to go to all these amazing races and car events all over the country.
And we made it to Marina Del Rey.
Yes.
That's about it. But let's talk about this incredible
Most expensive
week.
backdrop ever.
It is, but we love it. Monterey Car Week. There is nothing like it on the face of the planet. It started out 70 years ago in a very modest way, like it did at that time. No one knew what the future would be, Tommy.
Well, it was the first concourse in America. There weren't really racetracks built, so it was they had a road race and a concourse 70 years ago. So this was going to be a big anniversary. And that's the one thing is you can't manufacture history like Indianapolis Motor Speedway since 1911. So Pebble Beach for 70 years. And it was a big gathering, and it's only gotten bigger. They built Laguna Seca since then, so the historics were a big one, and then everyone wanted to be a part of it. So all these kind of splinter events,
satellite events, came up around it. But of course, at its core, always lies the Pebble Beach Concours d'Elegance. But so much happens there this week, this year. It's almost I have FOMO. I have FOMO.
Yeah.
I have FOMO. Worrying what you're having for lunch. So imagine what it's like up at Pebble Beach. I don't know. I don't know whether I'm supposed to be at the Italiano Concorso or I'm supposed to be down the road at a
Some friends say, are you going to the auction? Or are you going to the Rolls-Royce premiere? Or are you going to and so all the brands have these houses. You've got the Jet Center party. You got the prehistoric races. You've got Concorso, Concours de Lemons, which is lemons.
Yeah.
I judge that one. You've got, and then the Quail, the ones that everyone agrees you've got to go to. Tour starts on Thursday morning.
And it is a special one. I mean the tour.
One of the most special memories of your entire life took place at the tour.
Sandra Button, who is the president of the Pebble Beach Concours d'Elegance, she asked me, along with Rob Moran from Mercedes, to take the one and only legendary Sir Sterling Moss in a beautiful 300 SL to lead the tour. And I did put this video up on my Facebook page because I had the little GoPro in there. I'd known Sterling all my life. Little did I know that this would really be one of my last times to spend any meaningful time with him.
Uninterrupted, how long were you with him?
Like 2 hours. And we had the best time. We talked about everything. Cars and girls and racing and the state of the car world and how important Pebble Beach was. And I know that Sterling, when he sits up there looking down, right now he's like, some of my best times were at Pebble Beach. Even, in this world or the next, it's definitely one of the places to be. And then, of course, the tour is the first chance for people to see the magnificent cars that are going to be on the fairway on Sunday in motion. Cars are meant to be driven, and when they're driven, they get seen by the fans. They hear them, the smell, the noise, and boy, do some of these old birds make a smell, because of the oil and the way they burn. But it also counts for points for Sunday.
Well,
so
thank God they do that because the cars have gotten so valuable and they are restored to like a level. And so the incentive would be to, I can't. But
no.
If you want to win Best in Show, you need to be on the tour.
And then Friday kicks off with the Quail, which arguably has become one of the most significant modern, I call it a modern car event, even though there's a lot of old cars there, because so many of the car manufacturers, TK, use it as a venue to actually launch their latest and greatest.
But the way it got that way is we were talking with Ralph Gilles, the head of design for Fiat Chrysler, and it's more racing focused. So you've got all these amazing race cars and some other stuff. But so it's become such a gathering. It's such, they got the wine and the food and so forth. So it's just a lovely afternoon. Because you've got this captive audience, people are like, well, the whole reason we're here is to move some metal.
Yeah.
And so it's become a place to unveil new cars. It's also become a place. Michael Fuchs takes delivery of his special one-off one-of-ones.
Yep.
He'll get a Rolls, he'll get a Mercedes, he'll get a Bugatti. It's really happening.
Yeah, I love it. And it's also a great chance to see everybody because there is always a sense that you're building up to the Sunday. I feel, from the day I get there, I'm building up to this crescendo of the Pebble Beach Concours d'Elegance. But also at the Quail, you have cars that represent, if you're lucky like us, moments in time, whether you're as a fan or as a driver. And like last year for me, I was reunited with the car that I raced in 2000 with Chris Neifel and Ron Fellows, and we finished third at Sebring in this car, and it was amazing. I sat in it and I smelt it, and obviously don't dress like that when I was racing back in 2000. But how cool is that, seeing it there? And which is a nice segue, because you had a reunited moment on Saturday.
What do people do on Saturday? The races happen for the whole week, but the day everybody goes to the racetrack is on Saturday, and I took part for the first time in the Historics last year, and this is the RX-7 that I launched my IMSA career in, my first championship. I won my first IMSA race at Laguna Seca in 1986, and I had not driven this car since 1987. I've owned it since I graduated from college, 91, but I hadn't driven it. And so Dan Banks, who was my crew chief then, got it ready, and it was it's the winningest car in IMSA history. Won 5 titles, 2 of which were mine. But and the car has been hidden. It's stashed away for 30 years, and so there was a lot of people that came by.
Excited to see you.
Mazda put us underneath with all their Historics cars right in the center of the paddock, and it was a good time. I'll tell you, that car's a bit of work. I felt like I was churning butter in there, but it was a good time.
Yeah, and the other thing about being at the Historics is that never before, until these events started to take place, could the fans be reunited with the cars that they've admired, like posters on their childhood bedroom walls. You can stand there next to it. You can actually touch. You can literally touch, because they're not going to be judged. They're there. You go up against cars that Fangio drove. You see cars that Moss drove. You see cars that you drove. And I think that interaction, that availability, that accessibility is what makes it so magical. And seeing all the drivers, there's no place they're sequestered off. They do go in the Rolex lounge, but the rest of the time they just walk around. And I think they're enjoying it too, because I tell you what, take it from my dad. You may be a 5-time Le Mans winner, but when you're sitting at home, no one else thinks you're famous. So you have to go to events like this to have everyone like.
And it's kind of a second
crazy.
chance. I only speak for myself. Sometimes when you were in the moment driving those cars, it was serious business. Things weren't always going. I don't know if all of us really appreciate it fully while we're doing it. So it's a chance to kind of reconnect with those memories and the people that were involved in it, and really relish the special stuff. So, look at this. The GT40s.
That was special to see. I'll tell you that. I remember I was on the pit wall.
Well, that car in front, I'm not sure. That might be the one that my dad owned in the 80s. And the first time I went to the Historics, I think I was 15 or 16, and I drove the car out to the photo shoot, which was what I lived for. It was before my racing days.
My gosh.
And I would just beg, Dad, can I drive? No. One time he'd say yes. I'd say, okay. Yeah. So I would.
That comes under the category of the one that should have got away?
His whole garage were the ones. I mean, anyone that owned any of those cars, but his was pretty special.
I know. And then it is time for the Pebble Beach Concours d'Elegance, and it starts very early in the morning with Dawn Patrol. Last year I had an incredible good fortune to be asked by Motor Trend to co-host a little documentary they did on the day's events, and it kicks off so early in the morning. And you think, who are all these totally crazy people in the dark? Little faces come up to you and they emerge and they're holding a cup of coffee. Haggerty sponsor it, and it is magical. Sandra Button is there in person and greets every car as they come onto the lawn. She says hello to every one of them, gives them their little pack, and it was something really special. Of course, I never have anywhere to go and change, so I normally illegally park my car, TK, and then go back to it. The funniest one was like 2 years ago.
You don't have a trailer.
I don't have a trailer. I found a great place to park my car, which was a big Range Rover at the time. I then think I'll go back and change and have a nap. I didn't realize it had become the VIP parking. I'm now in my knickers because I'm changing into my suit, and there's all these fancy people and all these security guards wandering around going, this car needs to move. And I'm thinking, well, I'm in my undies, so it's not about to happen. Anyway, what goes on behind the scenes? It's not just all hair and makeup. And then, of course, the cars are on the fairway, and it opens for judging, and the people come in. That feeling, Tommy, just seeing all those people.
Well, in the setting, why did Pebble Beach become Pebble Beach? Well, I mean, you see the setting of the cars and the people there.
Yeah.
There's no place on earth that has, for the week's events, that has this kind of a setting for a concourse. It's got a racetrack. It's got enough room for all the other events. We didn't even mention the auctions. It's got hotels and restaurants that can accommodate the number of people. And so, but it really, Sunday reminds you that the granddaddy of them all is Sunday on the lawn.
And Pebble Beach truly has had magical moments that have changed people's lives. They have just seeing all the Bugatti Royales that you did, seeing all the Bugattis last year all lined up, all the Formula One, the Grand Prix Bugattis, Ralph Lauren's car. Never before had they been seen all in one place. Seeing Paul Stewart there with his unrestored 275 GTB, it was just perfect. I promise you, if you've never been there, it is one of the most visceral automotive experiences you can have. It's like everything you've ever wanted in life is right there. And I love the fact that you can have a billionaire. You could have Sam Walton standing next to someone who is there with his kid, and they only just about afforded the entry ticket. No one cares. Yep. Everybody is there.
And they're all oogling
the same cars.
Yeah.
It's very special. And of course, as the day rolls on, the judges have done their job. And remember, this is very much a competition. Make no joke, as Jay Leno said on our show, when I joked once and I said, it's not really a competition. He said, oh, yes, it is. They want the trophy. Because to win your class or then win best of show at Pebble Beach Concours d'Elegance, I mean, I don't know if there's a figure for it, but it adds a significant value to the provenance of your car.
Well, think about, now that cars have literally become an asset class, and you've got cars that, up towards $100 million that are, and so you think about artwork, it's sequestered in museums behind glass and here you've got all this rolling machinery that's, really functional art on the lawns. People, I mean, you could walk up and touch, don't do that with
after
the
judging. After the judging. And I think, you're so right, TK, but, perhaps to close this, it reminds me that, and Pebble Beach always does remind me that it's about the people. The cars are the canvas, and the people are the artists. And whether you're a fan or a designer or a driver, and Sandra Button and her team curate these people. It is the most extraordinary group of people that come back year after year. They raise an enormous amount of money for charity, and millions for charity, local charities. And every time you leave there, I'm always like one of the last to leave, surprise, surprise. And I love walking around, and I kind of just walk back up the fairway, mainly because I can't get a ride out. But I'm walking up the fairway, and I think to myself, something magical happened here today. I'm more than glad. I'm honored and proud to be involved. But what would make 2021 better? What will make 21 better? This, right? The Airstream. You and me there offering cups of tea out of the back of Betty. So that's where you're going to find us next year in 2021. Like everybody else, we cannot wait to be back at the Pebble Beach Concours d'Elegance and all the activities of Monterey Car Week. Thanks to the Petersen for putting this together, because gave two old guys a chance to talk about how much fun we have up there. So, yeah, exactly. So we'll see you there next year with Betty. Take care.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Nick Barnes. I'm the operation manager for Gunther Werks. Behind me is our latest commission, our Mexico Blue Remastered 993. A little bit about Gunther Werks. So Gunther Werks started 5 years ago. We are the sister brand of Vorsteiner. Vorsteiner is an aerodynamic company that does add-on aero kits for Lamborghinis and Ferraris. The owner of Vorsteiner, an avid Porsche collector, loved his modern day Porsches, but also loved the driving aspects of the air-cooled analog Porsches. So he came up with the concept of, what if I had the driving and the analog feel of the Porsches of the yesteryears with the modern performance that you get in a modern day GT3? And so we started thinking, which Porsche should we start with? And the best decision was the Porsche 993. Now the 993, they never made a GT3. Well, what if Porsche had continued that? So that was our inspiration behind the project. being that we've been in the carbon industry for the past 17 years now, we really wanted to make sure that the car was extremely light and that the car featured a full carbon body. So on the car, the bumper, hood, fenders, roof, rear quarters, ducktail, and bumper are all carbon fiber. You come take a look at here, this particular commission has our exposed stripe. It's a 2x2 weave that matches from the hood to the roof, fully exposed, with the V going all the way through. Now, if you look at the design of the car, the design was really showcased off of some of the other Porsches through the yesteryears. So if you look at the front bumper here, it's designed after the Carrera GT. The fenders were very designed off the 993 GT2 Evo. If you look at our ducktail spoiler in the rear, that's based off of 73 911 RS. And then our rear bumper was designed after the 997 GT3. Again, a lot of design elements from Porsche of the yesteryear. Now you'll notice too, the car is very wide. So it's roughly 3 inches wider each corner. That allowed us to have a square track width. And that was a big thing when we were designing the car was the 993s were notorious for understeering. And so widening the track width, especially in the front, allowed us to wipe away all that understeer and actually really drives in more with an oversteer that we're used to on the modern day Porsches. Now, if you look at the actual front wheel combination, that allowed us to run a 295 on an 18x11 in the front, and then it's an 18x13 in the rear. Now again, going back to the design elements when we were initially engineering and designing the car, the cool thing on the 993 is it allows you to push the suspension out 20 millimeters to the cup settings. And in doing so, that allowed us to design our own upright with ERP, one of our suspension partners, who designed an upright specifically to our needs. That allows us to pull 1.2 lateral Gs in a skid pad. When we tested this car at Laguna Seca, this car pulled over 3 Gs in the corkscrew. Now with a phenomenal chassis and suspension setup, let's come take a look at the crown jewel, the engine. Now the engine on the car essentially starts off with a 3.6 block. From there we bore it out to 4 liters. It's still naturally aspirated, air-cooled, and it's still a flat sixth. Again, the original block. From there, we do our own custom pistons, rods. It's our own individual throttle bodies with a 997 GT3 intake plenum. For ECU management, we use a Motec dual-mapped ECU. The dual mapping allows us to run a sport button in the center of the dash. When engaging the sport button, it changes the horsepower from 420 horsepower to 435 horsepower. In addition, that opens up the exhaust valve on the exhaust, and it's much louder, much vibrant sound in the exhaust system. Also, when looking at the rear here, that gives access to our JRZ suspension. We run the JRZ 3-way adjustable full coilover with external reservoir. That allows us to fully set the car up to our exact specifications. Now, with a beautiful engine and a beautiful drivetrain, we want to make sure that we have a beautiful interior as well. So let's come take a look at the interior. The interior is fully bespoke. A lot of the components in the interior are all handmade, done by us. For instance, we do a full carbon door card here with our own billet aluminum door handle. And then from there we have our full carbon flooring. Now the carbon flooring is actually made up of 5 different components, from the center console tunnel to the actual floors for driver and passenger, in addition to the actual side panels here, that fully carbon 2x2 weave. In addition, come take a look at our rear seat delete. The rear seat delete is a top and bottom piece that deletes the whole rear seat. In addition, we have our fire extinguisher mounted to the rear seat delete here. One of the big and probably my favorite feature on the car is our full carbon bucket seats. Again, all done by us. It's a 2x2 carbon weave. We actually do our own custom fitting when a customer selects and options out their car. Based off the actual leather or seat material that we do, we'll sit and fit them specifically to their actual seats. From there, we have our full bespoke dash here. In addition, you see the full carbon upper dash, again, all done by us. Over here, we have our full gauges that are all redone. We actually changed the rev limiter from 7,200 RPMs all the way up to 7,800 RPMs, again with our 4-liter motor. Now, one of the big things is the driving position and your reach to the actual steering wheel and the shifter. We use our own billet aluminum 6061 billet shifter, which is actually higher, which makes it easier to shift through the gears. Now up front, we have our full trunk, which is fully bespoke again. Again, showcasing really our carbon expertise. We've got our JRZ external reservoirs, easily accessible, and then we do a full trunk insert, again, really showcasing the carbon technology that we're capable of. Now, we couldn't stop there. One of the big things, and probably, again, another favorite feature of the car, is our bi-LED headlights. It's a full airplane grade glass with our own carbon bucket, an LED DRL, and then a bi-LED headlight. Cool thing too is it uses the factory wiring harness, so it's a plug and play application. And then out back, the rear lighting comes from the modern day 991 C4S's. Again, a full LED taillight that has a full LED bar that goes across. Let's light it up, take a look. With a weight of 2,650 pounds and a power of 435 horsepower coming from our naturally aspirated air-cooled flat 6, the car has a power-to-weight ratio of 352 horsepower per ton. Now, a modern-day GT3 RS has 350 to 1, so we have a better power-to-weight ratio than a modern-day 991 GT3 RS. Now, our prototype and test car set a lap record for an air-cooled 911 of 1 minute 33.10 seconds around Laguna Seca Raceway. Again, a second faster than a modern day 991 GT3 RS. So when a car actually is commissioned out, the customer actually has to provide a donor vehicle, or we can source one for them. When we actually get the donor vehicle, it's a bare chassis 993. From there, we'll actually strip the cars all the way down to the bare chassis. We send them out to media blasts, and then from media blasts, we get the cars back. Imagine a car completely stripped out and there's nothing left but the chassis. From there, we'll do our chassis modifications. Some of the mounts we actually delete from the car, again, to reduce weight, and we beef up some of the other different mounts. From there, we'll go to bodying, where we add on all of our body components. During the body component process, we'll actually remaster our subframe assemblies. The whole subframe is essentially brand new from the ground up. And then from there, we'll do assembly process. So that's installing the drivetrain, installing all the suspension components, and then our fully bespoke interior. Like mentioned, the build time on these commissions are roughly anywhere from 6 to 9 months, depending on what your options are. So the Mexico Blue is actually a slight variant of your traditional Mexico Blue, and we actually bespoke every paint for the client's car. So each car is going to have a slight variant and our own blend of paint. In addition, each car is actually named by their paint. So we have Mexico Blue here. We have a couple different commissions that are called Winchester White, Chelsea Gray, Voodoo Blue. In addition, we have our exoskeleton. Now imagine this whole car as an exposed carbon, matching from bumper to bumper in a 2x2 carbon weave. When a client's commission is approved by us, what we'll initially do is start talking about some of the paint options and interior options they're going to want to select. Again, Each of our 25 commissions are uniquely different, and no two can have the same interior-exterior color. This process usually takes us the longest. Now from there, there's roughly 50 other options the client's going to go through, from brake and wheel options, to headlight options, spoiler options, and roughly 25 options in the interior, from interior materials, to stitching, to carbon weave, to textures from a gloss carbon to a satin carbon. So, wrapping up our Mexico Blue commission here, each car is actually bespoke to each customer, and no two cars can have the same interior and exterior color. Now, we're only building 25 examples of our remastered 993, and to us, it epitomizes the best of the air-cooled, from performance driving, electronics, interior. Every aspect of the car has been taken to the next level and making it the ultimate air-cooled 911. Now, if you want to learn more about the remastered 993 by Gunther Werks, feel free to look on our website at guntherwerks.com or follow us on Instagram at Gunther Werks.
Comfortably the fastest time for Gary Ward. Round of applause for him.
A 44.6 second run by Sebastian Loeb. .44.58, absolutely astounding.
44.40.
The penultimate car to take to the hill in the shootout. It is the Neo EP9. Peter Dunbrek is the man behind the wheel. Peter Dunbrek blasts away from the line. Let's see what he can do. The time to beat is a 46.43. That should fall.
He's on the same pace as his qualifying run to the first 100 meters. But where he makes the time is on sheer top speed. He's off the track, but he gets it back on. He did 117 miles an hour on the approach to Malcolm. He rockets into view like an F-16 jet fighter. The tires are scrubbing away. 118 miles an hour he did on the approach to Malcolm. Now he goes up towards the flint wall, one way, then the other. The split to beat a 33.11. He's on the pace. Here goes Peter Dunbrek. The time to beat a 46.43.
Can he do it? He should do it. It's a 42.43. How much quicker can he go? 44.32. Peter Dunbrek goes fastest.
Yes, it is. It is quicker. Absolutely extraordinary. 44.19.
Third. And that is a time slower than he set yesterday. So that is not by any means what he anticipated.
Romain Dumas in the Volkswagen, the IDR. It smashed the Pikes Peak International Hill Climb record at the end of June. He did take that record away from Sebastian Loeb, but this is a car that's got enormous torque. It's got electric power, four-wheel drive, LMP1, Le Mans kind of downforce specification, and he's already up by 1.5 seconds. David, we're going to be looking at a sort of a 42 here.
We could well be on for a 42. You're absolutely right. He's got to beat a 45.6 of yesterday. He's got to beat Peter Dunbrek's 44.6, and he's ahead on the next sector as well. So where's it going to be? Is it going to be a 43? Could it be a 42? The checkered flag beckons. It is going to be a 43.05. It is quickest for Romain Dumas. It is faster than yesterday.
.9, 42.9 seconds.
but yesterday he did a 41.18. This is official.
Is he going to get it below 40? Yes, he is! A 39.90.
Roger Wills, can he get it over the curve, and he gets really wide. A wheel of the grass kicks up some dirt.
Oh, is he slowing? Can he get the nudge? Oh, he's ripped the front off the Dumas car.
Padmore holds on, but he goes wide and on the grass. Padmore gets out of shape, and up comes Nick Swift. He's won into the final corner.
Car up the inside, oh my gosh, coming out of the pits. That is threading the eye of the needle. Now, up Park Straight, look at this.
That's unbelievable from Oliver Solberg in the Citroen.
The 39.90, the fastest ever time up the Goodwood Hill.